This what happens when the big dogs come out to play. I like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Welcome
This
to
what
another live lesson. The name of this one is The Prophecies of Speaking, 2020 Year of Prophecy. And I pretty much, you brothers know and see what's going on, with over there with Iran and the U.S. and, all of that, all of them goodies out there. And pretty much, that first part of this, this what happens when big dogs come out to play. That's dealing with, the major players in prophecy, dealing with these different nations that are over there, in the Middle East doing their thing, in America, as always, over there, trying to intimidate, like they do. That's their manner anyway, trying to intimidate. I have a couple of scriptures in mind. I'm trying to get them out before I forget them. And that's one of them, but there's another one that was in mind, but I can't think of it right now. But pretty much, you brothers see what's going on over there. And while the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Shai has us preaching His word, you have Barakatah Yahweh B'Shem Shai came back. You have scoffers, talking their mess, cursing us out because we ain't bringing this out, we ain't bringing that out. We bringing all kind of stuff. How often have we, through the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Shai, been bringing out prophecies and Iran and all the different things that are coming out? We've brought this out many a times. Now it's just things are moving faster. All kind of information is coming out, and pretty much, it's hard to keep up with every single thing. That's why there's a body at work here. All the brothers, I'm not even dealing with the other camps because they got their own thing that they're doing, teaching the word. I'm talking about dealing with GMS. There's a body, and one man can't catch every little thing, or one man can't do videos on every single topic that's out there. And that's why there is a body, and everybody has their amount of information that is given to them to bring out. So I want to begin first off with this here, which your brothers already know. There will be dead Americans as a result of Iran general being killed, ex-CIA deputy director says. I believe it was the first and the second that were killed. Him being like a top general, Qasem Soleimani, and the other guy was Abu something, Mahmoud or something like Abu something. And as you know, with America doing that, they pretty much put a target on America's head as if they needed it. But I was just sent an article this morning to show you how these devils operate, and they continually do the same thing over and over again. So let me just get this real quick. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay. As they do, they constantly just use the same thing over and over again because people forget from one term to another, or from a couple of terms ago, the underhanded things that the international bankers that are working behind the scenes work, in these different scenarios, because what they have is something known as wag the dog, to where pretty much in this movie they show you that there was a charge brought against the president of the United States. So in order for them to get the attention off of the president, what did they do? They created a war with a country, as in this case was Albania, which they never had a problem with, but they created that because they wanted to take the attention off of the president and focus the attention of the American public to a war and to some bad guy, because they wanted to keep that particular president in. in power. And that's the same thing that's going on today with Trump and the impeachment of Trump. And it's no surprise that all of a sudden they got this war going on, and this situation going on with this general that was killed, by America. And now you have this nation of Iran, going crazy now, and they want their pound of flesh, so to speak. Now, when we move up, or move back, should I say, in time, in the New York Times, back in the 90s, it says impeachment vote in-house delayed as Clinton launches Iraq airstrike. Clinton military need to move swiftly. So pretty much there was a scandal going on with President Clinton. So to get the people's minds off of it, what happened? They did an airstrike on Iraq. So that will take the American public's focus off of the impeachment of the president and on that particular war that's going on over there in Iraq, or those airstrikes. And this is something that they've been doing over and over again. Today, Trump is being impeached, and what happens? They dropped some bombs, I believe it was, on the top general and the second in command, I believe it was, to what? To take off the focus or the light off of Donald Trump's impeachment, just like they did in the movie Wag the Dog, where this individual was the brainchild of the operation, Robert De Niro, and this individual, Dustin Hoffman, was a producer. And between them and there's different people coming together, the think tank, they all came up with a solution, and everybody put a piece into it, and they decided to go with this war with Albania, blah blah, this, that, and the other, and a soldier. And so like the shit just kept building up. So they built up a story of nothing to cover up the president's misconduct. All right, and his twickedness. All right, so now this scripture here, I believe the apostles, years ago, I'm pretty sure they heard it, because this was something that was being brought out back then, but I never really spoke on it because it was never really confirmed. But, because it's one of them scriptures that was barely used, for that particular situation. It being in this book of 2 Ezra, the 15th chapter, and I'm pretty sure that they've heard this before. But I could be wrong, but this was something that I remember hearing from the old One West School, and I never really brought it up because there was never really a confirmation. But I just wanted to just make a point on it because of what's going on with Clinton back then in the 90s, and this individual Trump, and it's the same exact blueprint. And pretty much what they're doing is they're hiding the fact that Trump is guilty of what he's guilty of, and they're creating some type of war situation to take off the focus off of Donald Trump, as in the Wag the Dog scenario. But this here in 2 Ezra 15:28, behold, in horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, because over there in the east is where all the fireworks are going to be going off at. And right now there's an amassing happening over there of these different troops, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth. And this is something that was already prophesied. See, Esau thinks that they're putting this scenario together of the so-called Muslim or Arabs fighting in this World War III, in this final war. But this is the Lord's doing. And all they which hear them shall fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians, which are what? The Iranians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. And you know what the nature of these the Arabs are, the Ishmaelites, and then you have the Carmanians, which are the Iranians, and with great power shall they come. Why? Because they do have the missiles. It says, and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, because eventually they're going to destroy all of America. Now, it could be that certain things happen to where they might take out certain cities in America. We need to sit back and watch what's going on with this whole situation with Iran now. It says, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, meaning the Ishmaelites, remembering their nature, because you know what their nature is. They're wild. They said that their hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand shall be against them. And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. Persecute who? The so-called Americans, Babylon the Great. Then it speaks about America. This is the point here. Then, man, you see that, man. You see how Satan operates, man. Let's get to the point. It says, then these shall be troubled, meaning the so-called Americans, public, the military. It says, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. And the keeping silence through their power, I remember back then being brought out as being through their media. They kept silence through their media, because you don't really hear really what's going on in the media. Everything that you hear in the media is something that they're setting up to cover up the real truth. You see, so it says, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. So in other words, they're not going to report it. Now if I'm off on this, the apostles, can correct me on that, but I do remember this being something that was taught back then, because Esau's power does come through his media, outside of his military power, which is the sword. All right, so they're going to keep silent on certain issues that are happening and not really report it. And this is why when we get information for lessons, we have to go to alternative media sources. We have to go to alternative media reportings, different, like for instance, Al Jazeera, Press TV, and certain other ones. And then, you have the certain individuals that bring out alternative media also, and certain things that are going on around the world that they're not reporting here in America, because that is part of their power. And this is why the media is one of the very first things that they brought up when they took over through what was known as the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, back in 1921 when it was established. One of the first things they did was go around buying up all of the media, whether it was radio, newspaper, so on and so forth. And eventually, as technology grows, the sources of information grow. They took over the television. Now they're taking or trying to take over the internet, because this is a major source of media. But there are too many avenues for them to control. All right. So as you see that, there will be dead Americans as a result of Iran general being killed, ex-CIA deputy director says. It says the targeted killing of Qasem Soleimani, one of the top military leaders, has escalated tensions between the U.S. and Iran, with Iran vowing revenge. And that's what they're going to get. They're going to get revenge, the Khameneans. CBS News senior national security contributor and former acting and deputy CIA director Michael Moore told CBS this morning the drone strike on Soleimani will lead to dead civilian Americans. And there was another brother that was going into 2nd Ezra 15 recently. I can't remember the brother's name. We watched so many different videos, but he was going into this whole scenario of what's going on over there right now, and that's a beautiful thing. All right. Soleimani was an evil genius. He had a lot of Americans' blood on his hands, but America doesn't have any blood on their hands. You know what I'm saying? So it's just this see, every time, who they deem to be an enemy, as long as they get them, or, he had a lot of blood on their hands. But what about the blood of America? All the blood that America has on their hands, from all the shit that they did when they first came over here back in the late 1400s into the 1500s. What about that? What about all the blood that's been shed on this country ever since you took over? What about that? How about somebody being held responsible for that? It says Morel said the world is a better place without him. Yeah, and when the Most High destroys you Edomites, the world will be a better place without you. How about that? The problem is that comes at a very high cost. Number one, there will be dead Americans, dead civilian Americans as a result of this, possibly over the next few days in any place where Iran has its proxies. Iraq is the most likely place, but also Lebanon, Bahrain, other places in the Middle East, and they may even have situations here where they might do something here. We don't know. We got to watch and see. Morel said Iran would lose the battle if they responded with a military strike on U.S. forces in the region. No, not really, because They have Russia backing them up. And I'm pretty sure if Russia steps in, China back them up. So they're just trying to paint it as if America is just a superpower that nobody can fuck with. And if it was just Iran and America, of course America would win. But Iran is not alone. They have allies, that are considered the big dogs. He said he thinks Iran's proxies throughout the region will go after civilians, but that's not all. At a time and place of their choosing, they're going to conduct a terrorist strike that kills a senior American official, Morrell said, and that could be anywhere in the world. Such an attack could occur on American soil. Yep, I just said that. He said, Lebanese Hezbollah, which is one of Iran's closest allies, has contingency plans, and those include plans in the United States against U.S. targets. Morrell said such a terrorist attack could occur soon. And, this is being staged, but it's also being really manipulated by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Because some of this stuff they're trying to control, but the Most High is the one that's in total control. So he's the one that's controlling what's going on. Now, we could read more of this. It's very short, But what I want to also do is, this is what, last week sometime, a few days ago, last week. Now, in the midst of all this happening, what happens? Round 2. U.S. drone airstrikes kill 6 pro-Iran militia commanders. So now the U.S. drone also kills 6 more of their top men. It says, whether he is eating ice cream or not, Trump appears to be on a rampage to recreate the end of The Godfather. Less than 24 hours after U.S. drone shockingly killed the top Iranian military leader. Okay, about what it was this. This is 1-3, which is yesterday. So this is actually a couple of days ago. Less than 24 hours after a U.S. drone shockingly killed the top Iranian military leader Qasem Soleimani, resulting in equity markets groaning around the globe in fear over Iranian reprisal and potentially World War III, the U.S. has gone for round 2 with Reuters and various other social media sources reporting that U.S. airstrikes targeting Iraq's popular mobilization unit, umbrella groups of Iran-backed Shiite militias near Camp Taji north of Baghdad have killed 6 people and critically wounded 3, an Iraqi army source said late on Friday. So these devils, they're on a rampage, So they're on a rampage, It says Iraqi officials media has also confirmed that 2 vehicles were targeted north of Baghdad carrying commanders of the pro-Iran militia in the PMUs. 2 of the 3 vehicles making up a militia convoy were found burnt, a Reuters source said, as well as 6 burnt corpses. Which those 6 burnt corpses could be anybody, but they just said it was them. You got to read between the lines because these devils, they ramp shit up. It says the strikes reportedly took place at 1:12 a.m. local time. According to unconfirmed reports, a U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drone targeted a convoy carrying several high-ranking officials of PMU in Taji, north of Baghdad. The casualties are said to be mostly among members of the IRGC, backed Asaib Abul al-Haq. It is not known whether Qais al-Khazali is dead or alive. Separate reports claim that Shib al-Zaidi, a commander of Kataib Imam Ali brigades, an Iranian-backed militia, and the PMU's 40th Brigade is among those, the 6 who were killed in the strike. Al-Zaidi was close, So pretty much, he was close to this dude, the one that the other general that they killed. You see, Al-Zaidi was close on left to Soleimani, and Abu Mahdi al-Mohandis both killed 24 hours ago. And I believe it was these 2 that were killed, or these 2, right? Let's see, on the left. I guess it was these 2 that were killed first, and then he was one of the guys that was close that was just killed in this second round that America did. All right. Now, whether or not all this stuff is factual or they making it up, which we believe that it's actually happening this way, it's all set up by the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, because the Most High is stirring things up now. Zephaniah 3 and 8, it says, Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured in the fire of my jealousy. So the Most High is bringing those armies over there to pour upon them the wrath of his indignation, and he's stirring things up to bust up, Esau's parade, because it's time for Esau to go down. And in order for Esau to go down, the prophecies have to be fulfilled. That's what the name of the lesson is, 2020, the year of prophecy. How did I, let me see. The prophecies are speaking, 2020 year of prophecy. So the prophecies are speaking right now. All right. Let's go from there to, let's go from there to, let's just go to Ezekiel 38. Ezekiel 38 and 10. And pretty much what's going to happen is this is going to cause the situations that are going on with Iran and America is going to cause Russia to step in, because Russia has invested, personal investments and stuff into Iran, and they back up Iran. They back up Syria. They back up certain nations out there that is scriptural through prophecy. So Ezekiel 38 and 10, thus saith the Lord power, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. Because Russia is going to eventually get involved in this whole thing. So you got Russia to worry about. You got China to worry about. You got Iran to worry about. And you got other nations out there that have the missile that you have to worry about. And eventually you're going to have to worry about your own allies that are going to come against you, because everybody's tired of this hoe. That's what the scripture say, whose look was more stout than his fellow. America looks down on everybody, just like that bird of prey, the eagle. And this is set up that way because that's how the Most High wants to set it up. Now let's go to Joel 3, which I saw a brother just posted up. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. So war is in preparation right now. But who's preparing the war? The Most High is putting the spirit on certain individuals to bring all this stuff to pass. Let's go real quick to Revelation 16 and 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, which is the Roman Empire, which today represents, the revival of the ancient Roman Empire. It says, and out of the mouth of the beast, which is what? EU and NATO, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, which is the Roman Catholic Church. It says, for they are the spirits of devils working miracles. And that's what they're doing right now. They're working their magic, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world. And this is what they're doing. They're going to the different kings, whether they're sending messengers or whether they're sending messages, whether they're causing certain things that happen around the world. They're working in conjunction to get this thing popping, because they're all in bed together for one purpose, and that purpose is for what? To bring forth the new world order. And in order for them to bring the new world order, there has to be a major catastrophe and chaos on the earth, to where the international bankers can step in and say, you know what, we have the solution to all of this. We can end all of this misery and hell and war and all that. All you have to do is accept this new world order. You see, it says to gather them to the battle of the great day of the power almighty. But in the midst of doing all of that, they're gathering these troops over there in order to fulfill the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. See, they're thinking that they're doing it as a thing of to win favor for their agenda. But what they're really doing is they're setting things up for the Most High to have the final say and the final strike. So I'm going to jump down to the 16th verse. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon, which is the mountain of the troops. And that's why it's called the mountain of the troops, because you're going to have all of these military men amassed over there in the Middle East, in those regions over there. It says, and the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, it is done. Why? Because the final analysis, after all is said and done, the mark of the beast, which is the microchip being pushed, World War III being fought, those missiles flying, and Yahushua coming back with the angels and the chariots, that'll be the final analysis. That'll be the end game. That'll be the end of it all. That'll be the end all be all. And that's what's happening right now. So that's why an evil thought is going to come into the mind of Russia, because the Lord is going to cause America to do some shit, which they're doing right now, to get Russia even more stirred up, which means Russia's allies is going to get stirred up, and eventually the allies of America are going to get stirred against her, and they're going to fuck this place up. It's all a master chess game. It says, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages, which is America. America is the land of unwalled villages today. I will go to them that are at rest. And who's more at rest and more at ease and more careless than the so-called American public and the military and the Senate House and all of that? America. That's why you have so many obese. I'm not talking about overweight. I mean, you could be 5, 10, 15 pounds overweight. I'm talking about obese people in America. Why? Because they're careless. They're living the life. They're living good. They're living comfortable. They're living careless. They got plenty to eat, even though it's GMO crap. But that's why they're big as a house. It says that dwells, and you have a lot of places around the world where people barely get enough to eat. They get just enough to sustain their body for that day, and it's still malnutrition, but at least they're getting something. But America, you can go 24 hours and go get something to eat somewhere that dwells safely. All of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. But what's going to happen is eventually that's all going to turn. So now let's go from there to Joel chapter 3 and verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, and that's what's happening right now. These troops are being amassed over there in the Middle East, which they have been being amassed there for years. But it's ramping up. And there's a reason why they could never bring the troops home. There's a reason why the wars over there in the Middle East never cease. There's a reason why the situations that are happening over there don't cease. Why? Because this is the Lord's prophecies coming to pass. And people don't get that, It says, let the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Why? Because they're going to take the money that they have for agriculture and convert it into military power. Because in this day and age, your country is as safe as the military power that it has. Because in the minds of these people, they're not looking to the power of the heavens to protect them. Because their gods are just idols, as the scriptures say. So what do they have to do? They have to, build up their military. And in building up their military and their military power, they also have to link up with military powers or superpowers that can have their back, that could be like a bodyguard unto them. And this is where them big superpower nations come in. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Because once they amass and they get into this World War III, that's when Yahushua and the angels are going to come down, and start busting stuff up. It says, let the heathen be awakened. And what's happening when the heathen are being awakened? Meaning the prophecies are starting to come to pass. They're starting to speak. And come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Now, the valley of Jehoshaphat means Yahweh Shaphat, or the Most High's judgment. And we read in Zephaniah 3 how the Most High's determination is to gather all those nations there to pour upon them his indignation. And that's what it's going to be, like the Elder Apostle Tar said. Elder Apostle Gabar said, there's going to be acres and acres of dead bodies all over the place. Because it says that the slain of the Lord shall be many. And this is pretty much all accredited to the Most High, because the Most High is the one that's gathering all these things together. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. And why is the Most High going to judge them? For what they did to us, to the Israelites. What they've done to his earth. What they've done, period. It says, I put ye in the sickle for the harvest is ripe. So when the harvest is ripe, you will put in the sickle to what? To reap in what you sown a few months ago. You know? And now we're at the point of the harvest. The harvest is about to be plucked. It says, come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. And this is what's causing the fats to overflow. Their wickedness is great. Because what you would do is, let's say, for as far as grapes were concerned, you had a threshing floor, and you would throw the grapes in there. And once you throw grapes, there would come a point where you couldn't put any more grapes. And what was the next step after that? You had to stomp the grapes with your feet to get the juice out of them. And then when you would get the juice out of them, then you could use it for whatever. So this wine press, as it states in Revelation 14, is the Lord's destruction coming upon Esau to fulfill the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Let's go to Revelation 14 and 17. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle, which represents what? It represents threshing time, threshing the harvest. And another angel came out of the altar which had power over fire, and cried with a loud voice, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for the grapes are fully ripe. So the wickedness of Esau is fully ripe. You know, it's just at that point where it's about to be plucked. And the angel thrust in the sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of the Most High. So now that press, once that press is full, then the Lord can bring the devastation, which is the stomping of the Lord, which is his judgments. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horse's bridle, or the horse bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs, which is not talking about an actual horse's bridle, but it's going to be so much blood, it's going to be as if it reached up to the horse's bridle. That's how much blood there's going to be shed. So going back, Joel 3:13 at the end, I'll read the whole thing. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. And there's going to be a total devastation. Now I want to go back to, I thought I still had that scripture in Ezekiel. Here we go. Let's jump up to the fourth verse. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaw. So the Most High is going to put the spirit back on Russia to have that old ancient spirit that they had going back to when they were the USSR, the United Soviet Socialist Republic. You know, when they were strong and fierce, which they still strong and fierce, but not like they are back then. So the Lord is turning them back to that old communist way. And I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, which is Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. So you have all of these nations that are allies with Russia. So you fuck with one of them, you got to fuck with all of them. So right now they're fucking with Persia, which are the Iranians. So what do you think is going to happen since Russia has vested interest in it? They're going to get involved. And Russia and China are buddies, allies. They're going to get involved. It says Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarter and all his bands, and many people with him, which is dealing with Turkey. You know, because Turkey is a part of all of this end time prophecy. It says, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. And this is what's happening. Russia is being a guard unto these other countries. And seeing that America is messing with some of these countries, then it's going to cause Russia and her allies to get involved. Now let's just jump down to let's see, 18. And it shall come to pass at the same time when God shall come against the land of Israel, because they are going to come against the land of Israel. Because the people that are there are not the people of the Lord. I mean, you have a sprinkle of Israelites down there that went down there with Ben-Ami, and you still have Israelites from the one west that are still going down there visiting. And if they happen to be there when this whole shit pops off, guess what? They're going to be destroyed in that land. Said the Lord power, that my fury shall come up in my face, for in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. What do you think that great shaking is going to be? It's going to be the nuclear destruction, the missiles hitting the surface of America and causing the whole earth to rock back and forth. Because you're talking about 200 million missiles. It's not 1 or 2 or 10 missiles. You're talking about 200 million. So that's going to cause a great effect, on the earth, making it rock to and fro. Because if you set off an explosion underwater, what does that cause? That causes a tsunami. So imagine all of those missiles hitting and pelting the earth. That's why the safest place is where? Up in the chariots, up in space. All right, it says, so the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all the creeping things that creep upon the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence. See? So everything will be shaken. The fish, the birds, the beast, people, they're going to be shaken because it's going to be like a giant earthquake throughout the four quarters of the earth. And the mountains shall be thrown down, meaning the dealing with the top governments, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground, meaning all of their power is going to be taken down with this destruction. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. Every man's sword shall be against his brother, because that's World War III. And I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood, and I will rain upon him and upon his bands and upon the many people that are with him, and overflowing rain and great hailstones, fire and brimstone, which is what? Those nuclear missiles. Because the land of Israel will totally be pelted with missiles also. Thus will I magnify myself and sanctify myself. But the land of Israel will be replenished back, because that is the memorial of the Lord. But these missiles are going to clean it out of the filth that's there. And it makes sense, because that land right now is filthy, polluted. Thus will I magnify myself and sanctify myself, and I will be known in the eyes of many nations, and they shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Because in that day, the Lord's name will be finally magnified once again, as it was after the destruction of Egypt. You see? So pretty much, we could go on for days and days, but remember, the same shit that Clinton did when he was being impeached and caused this airstrikes in Iraq to take the focus off of him, that wag the dog effect, is the same thing that's going on with Trump. Trump is causing these things to happen, right, to take the focus off of his impeachment and put it on this so-called war. So with that, I pray that your brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say Shalom. A great on the earth, making it rock to and fro. Because if you set off an explosion underwater, what does that cause? That causes a tsunami. So imagine all of those missiles hitting and pelting the earth. That's why the safest place is where? Up in the chariots, up in space.